How's it going, everyone? Yossa back here with another video, and I hope you're having an amazing week so far. Today you joined me from my living room, which is a little different from the usual, but the reason why I wanted to do this is because, well, I wanted to do a bit of a demonstration for you. And I don't have a big production team, it's just me, myself, the camera, my microphone. I don't have a million GoPros and cars that can chase me and do all these really cool camera angles. So, well, we get to be kids again today and play with toy cars. And what I wanted to talk about is a bit of a contentious issue. It's something that I think there are diehard views about on either side. And I wanted to share my personal opinion. I have very strong opinions about this, and I feel like it might be helpful for you as you think about the way that you drive and park your car. So today we are going to talk about parking. Should you park front in or should you reverse in? And full disclosure, I've been driving for a long time. I've driven a lot of different types of vehicles, vans, pickup trucks, sports cars, small cars, big cars, 26-foot straight trucks, forklifts. So I've had different experiences, and I can tell you from those experiences, I have some idea of why I think it might be better to always back into your spot as opposed to front park. So what we're going to do today is sit here and kind of talk about it. I'm going to illustrate it with these cars, and I'm going to change the camera angle so it's going to look a little more interesting. You get to see from a bird's eye view why it makes more sense to reverse park than it does to drive into your spot. So hang tight, put your seatbelts on, because we're going to go for a ride. Okay, so welcome to my parking situation over here. And the first point that I wanted to make is a pretty simple one. When you back into a spot, it is just safer to get out. Now hear me out. I know people say, well, we have cameras in our cars. There are, lots of technology that'll help us keep us safe and make sure that we know what's coming behind us if we can't see. But let's be honest, it's always better to use your eyes. If you can see what's in front of you, it'll make it a lot easier for you to understand if there's any risk or potential for hitting something when you go out. And so we're going to use this yellow Bugatti over here as our example car. And if you see, sitting in the driver's position, you've got a nice view of what's ahead. And this Lamborghini Countach could be coming out over here. And as we're pulling out, we can very easily see that he's coming across, and we will stop. But if you're backed in, if you're front parked in, rather, when you're taking a look out, all you can see is the car that's sitting next to you. It's really hard to see what's behind you and to the different sides. You could have a bigger vehicle over here that's blocking your view, and all you have to check what's behind you is really your backup camera and the sensors. And some of them could be very good, but in a lot of cases, it's always better to have your eyes looking where you want to be going, and instead of focusing your attention from one side to the other, or just focusing on the camera and not necessarily paying attention to what's directly beside you, it makes backing out of that spot a little bit more challenging and potentially dangerous. And it's crazy because when I was learning to drive, I remember they always told us, look over your shoulder when you're backing out of places. And the challenge with that is you could be looking over your shoulder and backing out your car, but you don't realize, I'm getting really close to this other Lamborghini Aventador over here because I'm so focused on what's behind me over there to my right or left that I don't really notice how close I am to this car. And so when you've backed into your spot, it's just so much simpler. You can get out right away, drive off, and not have to worry about hitting anything, being close to anything. You've got your mirrors checking your sides, and all you have to do is point forward and look where you're going, and away you go. So that's point number one. Now, the second reason why I think it's really, really important to back into your spot is it's so much quicker to leave. Now, I know that may not be super important for a lot of you, but in most cases, we're in a rush. We've got places to be, we've got stuff to do. And so to be able to just kind of drive out of your spot instead of reversing out and making sure that you're not too close to the car over there or something behind you, if you've got another set of cars parked here, there's a lot of this and that tends to happen. It's more tedious and takes a bit more time to get out of your spot than if you were just backed in and decided, I can get in and just straight drive out. So it's much, much quicker if you've already backed into the spot. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, it's not as easy to back into the spot, so it's going to take a little bit more time to do that, and therefore it sort of takes away all the value of front driving out of your spot. But when you get good at parking, and when you get good at backing into your spot, it's not a very complicated thing. And as funny as it sounds, it's a lot simpler using the cameras and the mirrors to judge where you're going when you're backing into a spot than it is sometimes looking forward and trying to estimate how close you are with the front of your car to the cars that are next to you. And so once you get used to the idea of backing in instead of front parking, it actually sometimes is simpler. And so you save a little bit of time when you're going out. You can save some time potentially backing in. It's a win-win on both ends. Now, the other reason why I think it's so important to back into spots is a lot of times cars aren't necessarily parked in the way that they should be. They could be on weird angles. It could be that there are just a lot of obstacles around you and it's hard to maneuver around. Now, when you look at a car, the wheels that turn are always going to be the front ones. Some cars have rear wheel steering as well, but that's not going to make a huge difference. The majority of the steering happens from the front wheels. And because of that, what we want to do is be able to use those wheels to help position the car where we want to. And if you're using those wheels in front when you're going into a spot, what happens is the back of the car is sort of lagging behind. And it's a lot more difficult to be precise when you're using the front wheels to kind of pull you into something as opposed to steering with the back of it. And it's the same philosophy when you're driving a forklift. That's why the forklift wheels that turn or that steer are the ones in the back as opposed to the ones in the front. It allows the forklift to be much more nimble when it's trying to squeeze into a tight space and allow the driver of it to kind of pick up the big objects and not have to worry about, positioning itself as you would normally with a car. And so if you've got a really tight spot or cars that are parked on weird angles, and it just happens to be very difficult to get in with your front parking, because you would run into a lot of, oh, look at that, my car's at the wrong angle, how am I supposed to get in here? Well, when you're reverse parking, that problem is sort of taken care of because you can position yourself a lot more strategically and get into the spot with ease. And once you have the ability to move the front of the car, but that's the part that's going to be steering you in, you can make those minor adjustments as you're going into the parking spot, whereas if you were front parking, you wouldn't be able to because the back of the car is lagging. It's being pulled and dragged by the front. So to make those adjustments, you'd have to get out of the spot a little bit, reposition, and then try to work your way back into the spot. And sometimes that takes a little bit more time. And I don't know about you, but it's really frustrating when you're waiting to park somewhere or go down a driveway and you get somebody that's gone in at a really bad angle and they can't figure out how to get the right angle to get into the spot that they want to get into. And so if they were just backing into that spot, it would have been a lot simpler if they just figured out what angle they need to go in smoothly. And again, you have the ability to correct yourself even if you get it a little wrong. So I think it's a lot easier to park in tight spaces, and it's also easier to get out of them once you've reverse parked into that spot as opposed to front parking. So the other reason why I think this is really important is you will never lose your skill of parallel parking. And the reason why I say that is if you have to parallel park a car, let's rearrange ourselves over here. We know that if you come in front ways and you try to get into that spot, it's not going to work. You're going to have to readjust many, many times to get yourself into position. But if you drive forward, come right next to the car in front of you and back up, all of a sudden that gets you in a much better position to park your car and get in the first time. So when you're learning how to back into spots, it gives you the skill. It helps you practice and make sure that you're never forgetting how to park the car effectively backing in. And that means when you parallel park, you're going to be much better at it moving forward now than if you would if you always parked front facing. And then the last reason why I think it's so important to park facing forward is it just looks better. It's cooler. When you park this way and all the cars are looking forward, there's just something awesome about it. When you've front parked, it's not as exciting and interesting to look at the cars from the back end as it is from the front. So little bragging rights, if you can go and show people, hey, look, I know how to back in really well. I'm cool, and look at my car, looks really nice when you're staring at it from the front. You've got that added benefit now that you've parked in from the back. So a few reasons why I think it's valuable to reverse park as opposed to driving into the spot. Again, this is my personal opinion. I've been driving for a long time, and I truly believe once you get used to it, it is a more effective way of parking your car, and it's much safer because it just gives you so much more visibility and it makes it much easier for you to get out of that spot. So hopefully this was helpful. If you want to tag somebody that loves to front park and just annoy them, feel free to do that. I hope you all enjoyed the video today. I really enjoyed making it for you. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have an amazing rest of the week, and I'll catch you all again in the next video.